Welcome to Grow My Etsy Shop podcast, the drips of knowledge you need to start growing.
Hey, welcome. So we are at the end of August here. Some of you have made it through summer. So school started up. Congratulations. I know some of you, it's an after Labor Day folks, so keep going. You're almost there. But I actually had my oldest just went into high school. So we have been doing world schooling for a while, and then we came back here and we did homeschooling. So he is, and gosh, I've tried to prepare him the best I could. I had him watch Boy Meets World, which when he came home, he was like, turns out high school isn't just one room. Yes. I don't know if you've watched Boy Meets World recently, but it is literally filmed in one room. So anyway, all right, we're going to be jumping into our subject here. Most Etsy sellers have had this thought before, which is like, if I have success on Etsy or things are selling for me on Etsy, is there a way that I can create more traffic from other areas off of Etsy that give me similar success? One of the things that I always teach is, look, if you're seeing success on Etsy, it's because you've mastered Etsy. And so you want to try to stay as close to the source as you can for the quickest growth, but diversifying your traffic should be on your to-do list. You should be looking to say, once I have a product that I know people are interested in, I know people like, and when I get them in front of the right people, they buy, why don't I go find more of those people? So in today's episode, I'm going to walk you through some ideas that I have to help you diversify your traffic. The first place that I'm going to diversify traffic is on your Etsy shop. You're already a proven seller. You've already gone through all the hoops it is to have an Etsy store. Hopefully you're selling products and you're learning things about people as you're selling. So here's the thing. We talked about this in last week's episode. If you are selling a product, people are opting in information when they buy from you. So if you're selling cake toppers, what are you learning? You're learning that they're celebrating and decorating for a birthday. If I talked to someone this week that sells dorm art, and so when we were talking about our ultimate benefit, I wasn't saying you don't just sell art. You're aware of this, right? You are selling to a specific person who has a specific desire. And this is what we determined with her desire, is that she makes things that are very on trend, but she has an avatar that she's mixing that trend in with. Okay? So this means, and this is why she does so well, is that instead of her saying, I'm just going to make the art that I like, or I'm going to make art that I think that individual will like, she's instead saying, I'm aware that someone who's leaving their childhood home and going into this unknown world still has a desire to fit in with people. She still wants people to come in and see her dorm room and be like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. I love this. So she still wants to be seen as someone who fits in with her peers, yet she wants to promote herself, her avatar, who she is. And so by her taking things that are on trend and mixing them with her avatar, that then creates an art that they can hang on their wall that they don't feel self-conscious about, but yet expresses their identity to their roommates or to people who come in and whatnot. So in her particular case, the idea is, can you diversify that traffic on Etsy? Meaning, is there more people who have that similar problem that you can then sell to? Or is there a way that you can be found by that avatar somewhere else? Ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Perfect. So now you can hear where this is going to go. So once you've kind of diversified yourself on Etsy, you can make money doing this. But where the next stage of growth comes is diversifying where you pull traffic from. Your Etsy pot is your petri dish. It's how you learn what people are interested in, what products sell well, and how to sell products. Once you know that information, it's time to diversify into other areas to find that avatar. Okay, so now we're transitioning to the meat and potatoes of this podcast. So in her scenario, this is unique to her. I would promote to push to TikTok because that's where her people are. That's where they're going to be. That's how they're learning about trends. It's how they're finding it. And the algorithm is already creating a vortex for them of who they are and what they're interested in. So all you do is plug your product into their algorithm and it's presented to them that way. So you need to do it when you are creating your TikToks, if you're going paid or organic, make sure that you are doing all you can to let the algorithm know who it is that you're trying to target. And the algorithm then presents that to people. That's the secret. A lot of people think it's about going viral. That viral is the secret. Going viral in your target audience, fantastic. But going viral doesn't just get you views. What gets you sales is when you are able to tell the algorithm who it is that you're targeting and then allowing the algorithm to show that to them and then having them react to that. For most people, TikTok isn't the answer. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes that I see is that someone will, or a shop owner will start to say, all right, well, I want to diversify my traffic. So I'm going to be on Instagram. I'm going to be on Facebook. I'm going to be on TikTok. I'm going to be over here. I'm going to be over there. I'm going to be over here. They just kind of machine gun their brand out there. But without effort and without a strategy in motion, it's really just a waste of time and makes you feel like you tried something that didn't work. So right now, if you are thinking of diversifying traffic, commit to one and put everything you have into that one. That is how you then know if you're going to get results or not. But if you just kind of do it and half-heart it and see if it works, it's not going to be worth it. Nothing's going to promote or work well for you if it's like a see how it works. And I'm referring to like social media stuff here. So if you're just like, oh, I'll just throw an Instagram out there, see how it works. It takes strategy, it takes focus, it takes understanding your avatar, and it takes building content around that they're interested in, that they can drive in. So most of us don't want to commit to something like that because we're really used to the Etsy style, which is like, dude, just take some of my money and give me some traffic. So I'm going to give you 2 really great ways that I think Etsy shop owners can diversify their traffic using sort of the Etsy style principles. So I'm going to tell you what they are so that if you are interested, you can decide if you want to continue to listen to this podcast or not. So the first one I'm going to be talking about is website and using paid social to get you traffic. The second one I'm going to talk about is Amazon. And I want you to hear me out what I have to say about Amazon. So I'm going to do the first one first. Website traffic. If you develop your own website, you've heard all the pros of this, which is like you keep your customer data, you get the emails of all the orders, you can create a system that has them return, you can put in apps that allow you to cross-sell and upsell so much better to make more of your average order value higher. Ecom Star is one of my favorite apps to put into something that helps increase stuff. What it essentially does is it analyzes the data of your own website and it recognizes like, oh, people tend to, go to this product and then before they check out, they look at these other products or whatever, or they never buy from, a hat and then later on come back and buy a sticker, but they do sometimes buy a hat and later come back and buy a shirt. So they start to create bundles based on what they see user data being. And so instead of you just being like, oh, I think these 2 products go really well together, it's instead an app that like uses actual data based on their click rate of where people tend to go and how long they sit on things. And it creates bundles that way. So really cool app. You can go check that out. I'm not sponsored. I don't think there's a better way on planet Earth to sell a product than on a website. Actually, over the phones or in person is probably the best way to do it. But you know what I mean? On the internet. It gives you complete freedom to build exactly the funnel that you want to take your customer through. The biggest problem that Etsy sellers have is that they'll spend a long time building the perfect website only to not have people come to it. And that's the part that they forget because they're so Etsy centered that they're like, I guess if I build it, they'll come, which is kind of the Etsy mentality. The truth is you have to drive your own traffic to it. And so you have to be prepared to say, look, I know what my people like. I know the products that gear towards them. And I'm going to create and run ads that drive people to what I'm doing. And so usually the first things I'm going to do with websites is I'm going to make sure that your average order value is high. If you have a low selling product, and my feeling is like it needs to be at least above $25. And if not, can you get people to buy multiple products in one sitting so that it equals up? So like if you sell, those little pins that go on something, can you create packages that increase that order value? Because it does cost a little bit of money to advertise on Facebook or Instagram. And so you're going to want to have a higher average order value before you do that. So spend time doing that. Ecom Star is a great app for something like that. And then once you kind of have that, the whole idea is, and this is really just my funnel of what I do, is I target people based on what I know. So you go into Facebook, you type in their interests and whatnot, or Meta, we'll call it, and then it's able to create ads. You then speak to that audience because Meta is using the copy that's in your ads to figure out who they're going to target. Because what they do is they take the targeting you present them, but then they also try their own stuff. And I create usually 2 campaigns. One is very targeted based on what I think is going to work, and one is open. I then upload all the orders I've ever gotten and I give them to Meta to let them know, hey, here's the type of people who buy from me. So you go into create an audience, you drop that in, and then they kind of know like, okay, we know who these people are because they go look them up all on their socials and kind of figure things out. It gives them a good start to go, and then you run budget. So one is open AI, which means you're just like, hey, go find my people. The other one is targeted by you. And then whatever one does better, I'm going to leave on and off. And then I run retargeting. Retargeting is really great because anyway, you get lots of clicks that come from social, but they might not be ready to buy that second. And so your retargeting is a very simple ad. It is the catalog. So you upload your catalog, which is a very easy thing to do if you have Shopify. And it just, any products that they had looked at or products they clicked on will just be re-brought up to them. And so it's a form of retargeting. I'm sure you've seen this before where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing this product everywhere. It's like, no, you're just being retargeted. It just caught wind that you were interested in this and now you're seeing it. People who get really good at this end up just using Etsy as their top of funnel. And so they're just like, dude, I just use Etsy to find new people to me. And once they're in, I use my own techniques to drive people into my website. And then they're getting retargeted and they're seeing things. And I'm just building an online brand that way. So unfortunately, it does take some cash to build something out like this. And so if you're really like your Etsy or you're comfortable with your Etsy system, this might not be the best route for you. Now, let's talk Amazon. Because this one is very Etsy centered. So I want you to take what you know and understand on Etsy, and I want you to make it about maybe 8 times more complicated than what you're doing on Etsy. So if you're the type of person who's like, dude, I barely can figure out Etsy, Amazon's probably not for you. But this is what makes it great, is because you're filtering out a lot of the people who don't really know how to work Amazon, and you're able to then be a little bit more advanced in that area. Now, Amazon is way bigger than Etsy, and there are sharks on Amazon. So people who this is their job. They just swim in the seas of Amazon and they wait for people to post things that work and then they remake it and go. So if you have a product that can be copied very easily, Amazon might not be the spot for you. You're essentially just feeding data to sharks who are probably going to undercut you and take your products and take your pictures and make your life terrible. But you can make a lot of money on Amazon. And if you commit yourself to Amazon, it's the mindset of I'm going to give and then you're going to take a percentage of what I'm selling is very similar. So you already have a lot of the skill sets of being a successful Etsy seller that's on Amazon. This is what I typically teach. If you have a product that's selling really well on Etsy, it's probably going to sell really well on Amazon. And the way that okay, put it this way. Amazon has a better top of mind on people than Etsy does. Meaning you're going to get way more people on Amazon searching for products, keyword searching for products, just like they do on Etsy, but at a much higher volume. And then you're going to get people who impulse buy so much quicker. And so there's less shopping and more buying. That's a good way to say that on Amazon. And so if you have a product that you already have kind of figured out, this is how I present it, this is how I sell it, you can get that same opportunity on Amazon. And where it's a little bit more difficult, you can cut out a lot of the people who are just kind of on Etsy in your way, and you can go into Amazon and do that. Now, that's not to say that Amazon isn't a competitive place. We already talked about this, but it is a competitive place. And so this is what I think is the best thing that you can do. Create an Amazon store. For you to do that, just so that you guys know, you have to have a trademark. And so you need to go through that process to get a trademark to what you're doing. Because when you do, you get so much more access to the analytical side of Amazon. You can be a handmade thing. You just prove that you're a handmade product, and that falls under there. Now, this is the biggest question that people usually ask. Well, how do I offer Prime, or how do I look? Some of the most successful Etsy sellers who are selling on Amazon sell personalized stuff. And this is because people go on Amazon to search for things, and if it's personalized, that cuts out even more of all this competition, and it removes the Prime from them. They no longer need to see it in 2 days because they understand that it's personalized. And so you have this really kind of blue oceaned opportunity where you can offer personalizations to your products without the competition that may be found in other places. So the best way that you can do this is that you create a product. You have a product, you put it on Amazon, and you already know how to sell it. So you've kind of built it in that same fashion of what's going to sell. You run some ads on Amazon to help promote that as well. You get this coming in, and it's fulfilled by merchant. So it's just you fulfilling. There's nothing that's going to stop you or hurt you from just throwing this up on Amazon. It's not an expensive thing to get going. So you can put it up there, have a product that's on Amazon, and then people start to find you, buy you, and then figure it out from there. That's the best advice I can give you. Because meaning you might be able to say, gosh, I'm getting 5 orders, 6 orders, 7 orders a day from this. Is there a way I can build this in bulk and just send it up and have it be FBA? And so then you work this way. Now you can take a listing that's working for you as a fulfilled by merchant and just switch it to FBA. And then if it runs out of FBA, you just switch it back to fulfilled by merchant. So you can Michael Scott it, snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap, all you want. And so you can, someone else gave me this advice, which is they said like do fulfilled by merchant and then, or you just do a small number of like, hey, I'm going to send 10 to Amazon. So you send 10 to Amazon as a fulfilled by Amazon. And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I've sold 8 of these. I guess I'll sell 10 more. So you send 10 more. And then pretty soon, maybe you're selling 8 in a day. And so you're like, oh, okay, I'll switch it to fulfilled by merchant while I build more up. And then I'll send 50 to Amazon and flip it to fulfilled by Amazon. And so you're never having to worry about, because what happens in the fear that people have is that if you send 5,000 to Amazon and they don't sell, Amazon is charging you for shelf space in this over an extended period of time. And so now you're like, oh, freak. And then you have to be like, get rid of it, which is they pretty much sell it to discount places and then they auction everything off. So to avoid all that, you just use your Michael Scott. So you fulfill by merchant, build some inventory, send a small inventory up, and just let that go. And if it's a loss, you just say, great, keep your 7. I lost. If they sell, fulfill by merchant, build up your inventory, add more up, and you can build it out this way. It's a really safe way to do it and experiment with it. So I've shared this with you before. I should probably mention this. I have a mastermind group that I work with for a year, 8 shops that we just deep dive and work with for a year. My goal is to grow you, is have you have the best year you've ever had on Etsy. And this opens up, because people email me all the time. They're like, well, I've heard about your mastermind. It opens up in April. But I don't have a form on my website to sign up for it. I have nothing. I just, in April, say, hey, who wants in? And then I sign whoever says they want in. But there is something called a growth program or a growth report or something like that. Just go put your name on a list anywhere if you're interested in this and just write, hey, I'm really interested in your mastermind. And I'll move you into a file so that I have you over there. Another great thing is that you can join the school group that I have. I have a free version that's just in the community. And then when I start posting mastermind stuff there, you can catch that. I also have you pay one time and then you get access to all of these videos I have. I actually have videos on Amazon. I have videos on Facebook ads. I have videos on all these things that I'm talking about. If you're like, yeah, I actually want to do this, like now there's a place for you. So currently we had a mastermind workshop that we did where I had someone build listings and they got to watch them build listings so they could see exactly how it worked. And a couple of my mastermind students are already up on Amazon getting their products out there of their best sellers that they have. And so again, we don't want to shift you necessarily away from Etsy in this scenario, but to have top of funnel catching from Amazon is a really great strategy. One of my mastermind students, she does more on Amazon than she does on Etsy, and she's selling the exact same products. It's just because the volume over there is so much bigger. So it's worth thinking about, and it's worth kind of, if you're looking at diversifying your traffic, this could be something that could be really successful for you. I'd love to hear your own thoughts. If you have anything, you can make a comment on my YouTube below. It's usually like 1 or 2 comments on my YouTube video, so it's not a huge discussion, so don't feel like any pressure to jump over there. And usually it's one of the guys is just mad at me that it took me forever to get to my point. So sorry. All right, see you next week.